These are the most disturbing crimes that happen in the VTuber community, and as the video goes on, things will only keep getting worse. It's late 2024. Anycolor, the company behind Nijisanji, one of the biggest VTuber talent agencies in Japan, along with its affiliate event venues, suddenly starts receiving a wave of life-threatening messages through email and anonymous forums. Nobody knows who's behind it, and with several Nijisanji events about to take place, Anycolor and countless fans online launch a massive manhunt, hoping to stop something tragic before it actually happens. It all starts when an anonymous user begins posting extremely hateful messages aimed directly at Anycolor and its talents across multiple anonymous forums, and even goes as far as submitting them through the company's official contact form. In one of those messages, he threatens to pour gasoline and take the lives of the people at the Nijisanji event venues, including staff at Anycolor's headquarters in Tokyo. And his messages start to escalate even further, including graphic threats of violence towards the company's staff and VTubers. And in a country that treats these kinds of statements as serious criminal offenses, especially after the 2019 Kyoto animation attack, which ended the lives of dozens and left many more injured, Anycolor has every reason to see this as something that could put not just their company, but innocent people in danger. Not long after receiving the threats and realizing how serious the situation had become, the company would begin working closely with law enforcement, including the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. And with that much support behind them, they would immediately start preparing both civil and criminal complaints, aiming to track down whoever was behind these messages. From there, investigators would begin piecing together the online activity of this user, working off the messages submitted through Anycolor's inquiry form, along with the threats that were posted across various forums. Now, while very little about the process was ever revealed publicly, based on how Japanese law enforcement typically handles cyber threats of this nature, it's likely that they were able to track the suspect using a combination of digital forensics and tips from concerned fans. And on December 3rd, 2024, authorities would finally arrest the suspect on suspicion of obstructing business. And it's revealed that it was actually a 35-year-old man named Naomasa Kogishi, who had been living in Kyoto, Japan. And just one day after his arrest, Anycolor would release an official statement confirming that he had been acting under a false belief. He was convinced that someone he personally held a grudge against was working at the company. It was in many ways a tragic misunderstanding and spiraled out of control. And the company would continue working with the police to press charges and hold him accountable, making it clear that what mattered then was keeping their staff, their talents, and their fans safe from anything like this happening again. And Anycolor would also highlight how the VTuber community supported them through this time. And near the end of the post, they would add one final quote saying, "In consideration of the impact on the investigation by the police and other investigative agencies, we're limiting the information we report and the scope of information we disclose." Because of this, most of what happened to Naomasa after his arrest was kept private. This next case, however, didn't hide behind a screen, and he knew exactly where his victim was.
Lena's is so cute too. Oh my god, look at her little like...
It's November 1st, 2024. Camila, a 25-year-old VTuber with over 280,000 followers on Twitch and more than 330,000 subscribers across her YouTube channels, is just having fun on a collab livestream with fellow YouTubers Vidal and Evil Nero on Vidal's Twitch channel. As they're casually talking in front of thousands of viewers, Evil Nero suddenly asks Camila to perform clown tricks on stream for fun. But instead of answering, she doesn't say a single word, and her character strangely freezes in place.
But you're the ultimate clown, Camila. Can you teach me some more tricks?
But just a few seconds later, Camila suddenly starts talking again.
Sorry, let's just say in this humble abode, if there was someone like knocking on my window, how would you react?
Brushing it off as just a question about an imaginary scenario, Evil Nero, the AI, answers her in a sarcastic manner, with everyone not taking what Camila said seriously.
I'd probably grab the nearest object and get ready to throw it at them. Then I'd ask whether they're a friend or foe.
But much to their surprise, Camila doubles down by saying that someone actually just banged on her window, leaving her visibly startled.
Let's just say I'm in a house right now and someone just like pounded on my window.
But still, Camila doesn't think much of it, and the stream continues for another hour, with the three of them hanging out and talking to fans. But once the stream ends, she decides to check the camera footage, only to find out that no one was outside her house at the time her window got banged on. Assuming it was just some random kid messing around, she lets the whole thing go, and nothing else happens for the rest of the day. The next day, however, in the middle of her stream, she suddenly hears a loud bang against her house, with the sound even echoing through the stream.
Oh my god, look at her little, like... What the f*** is that?
Fearing that something bad might happen, or might have already happened, she quickly mutes her microphone and presses the panic button, which is an emergency alert device that contacts the police, and she rushes out her room to check if her mother's okay. Thankfully, she sees that her mom is safe, and it turns out that her mother's already looking through the cameras, saying that a man holding a sledgehammer is banging on their garage and trying to break into their house.
She was looking on the cameras, and he had a fucking sledgehammer. He had a sledge. He didn't look like he had any weapons, but he was trying to come in with a sledgehammer.
Without wasting any time, they go straight to where the firearms are stored and hide in a safe spot inside the house. While they're trying to stay quiet, however, her iPhone suddenly activates and starts trying to read out her location, likely triggered by an accidental voice command, causing her to scream in panic. She quickly shuts off her phone and goes completely silent, and all they can hear now is the man outside, screaming erratically. While this is happening, it turns out there were already police patrolling nearby, since there had been a rise in drunk drivers speeding and crashing in the area. And moments later, Camila and her mom hear sirens getting closer, and as soon as they do, the man's shouting stops. The police arrive at their house and see what's happening, which prompts them to immediately arrest the man on the spot and take over the situation, making sure that Camila and her mother are safe. When the officers ask if they're okay, it's clear that both of them are still shaken. They don't say much, still trying to process what just happened.
I'm really stupid. I muted my microphone because if there was something going on, I didn't want you guys to hear anything. Let's say something did happen and then you heard absolute catastrophe in the mic. I did not want that for people to listen to that. So I muted it, in case anything happened.
And thinking about how close they were to being in serious danger, Camila decides to pack her bags and tells her mother that they have to leave. But before they go, she gives her number to one of the police officers so she can be updated on who the man is and why he did this in the first place. And shortly after they find a place to stay, Camila posts an update on Twitter saying, "More info from the police to answer more questions. He's arrested. He admitted to planting a device in a gift he gave me." It turns out the gift was handed to her at a VTuber fan convention, where the man had approached her in person just to give it to her. And on top of this, she also warns other VTubers to be safe with receiving presents, adding, "Make sure you guys are checking convention gifts for tracking devices before taking them home with you, or you too could end up just like me." Camila then posts one final tweet saying she won't be returning home for a while. So instead, a family member would be escorted by an officer into the house to pack all the fan gifts into a large container and hand it over to the police, just to be safe and check for anything else before throwing it away. Sometime after this, she even talks about the impact it had on her during one of her live streams, which was now deleted, saying she's been stuck in the same nightmare every night as she keeps replaying everything that happened. Because of that, she would make the decision to stop accepting gifts from fans altogether, as well as attending any future meet and greets in real life. While she felt awful for doing this, especially after describing how happy she felt getting to hug and meet her friends, her community accepts that, with all of them understanding that this is the right thing to do. The man, however, didn't come out of it nearly as well and ends up getting exactly what he deserves. He's hit with multiple charges like stalking and attempted break-in and planting a tracking device. Unfortunately, his identity was never revealed, and while the legal outcome wasn't made public, there's every reason to believe he's not getting out of jail anytime soon. What comes next, however, is truly disturbing in all the wrong ways.
You do it! You get off to it! You use it in your thumbnails to bait your viewers to come watch your streams! That's what people watch you for, you freak!
But before talking about Nux Taku, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, Freecash. Now, Freecash is probably the first online platform I've seen where you can actually make some decent money on the side by playing video games. They won't promise you thousands of dollars a month, but it's literally free to sign up and you can have your first payout within days. I mean, they have a 4.8 star rating on Trustpilot with over 200,000 reviews. And here's what it looks like on the website. You can see all the available games and offers. And I personally decided to go with Monopoly Go, which is literally a game my friends play. Before I started, I just needed to make sure that app tracking is enabled, so free cash can actually track my progress. And after playing for a couple of days, I already made 25 bucks, on top of the $5 bonus which you can get when you scan this QR code or by clicking the first link in the description. And I can now just withdraw it via PayPal, gift cards, or even crypto, no strings attached. Now depending on your location, the interface may look a bit different, but it works the same everywhere. So don't miss out, and it's literally free to try, so why not? Now let's get back to the video. Nux Taku is a 29-year-old Canadian VTuber with over 2 million YouTube subscribers. He became known for his highly energetic and exaggerated anime commentary and content reviews. And while most people saw him as one of those recognizable figures in the anime and VTuber community, his videos and eventually his actions would spiral into something much worse. Back in late 2019 to 2020, Nux content would for some reason turn away from anime and meme commentary and increasingly focus on more provocative videos. And this is around the time he would also begin running contests around the Rule 34 art, where people draw highly inappropriate adult versions of fictional characters, often with zero boundaries on who gets included. For your own sake, seriously, don't look it up. And around this time, he would also show up on streams of various VTubers, donating money with requests to act out suggestive and obsessive behavior. While not outright illegal, it's a disturbing pattern that only gets worse from here on out. Now these provocative videos would get him a ton of success. With this in mind, Nux Taku would also launch one of his most popular series in the worst way possible, by showing other YouTubers and online personalities extremely explicit materials. These include videos involving which refers to non-consensual acts with animals, suggestive content featuring blood-related fictional characters, and even adult depictions of characters. Despite his attempts to censor it or bury it within his thumbnails, Canada strictly forbids the possession or distribution of explicit content involving younger people, whether real or animated. And yet Nux not only watched and possessed these materials, but also distributed them across his channel. By 2020, Nux then came into contact with an infamous NSFW artist known as Shatman, someone already banned on multiple platforms due to his disturbing content and a long list of public controversies. One of the most disturbing examples came in 2016, when Shatman drew an overly explicit image of Keemstar's real-life daughter, who was just 8 years old at the time. This post sparked immediate outrage and would go on to resurface years later as one of the most well-known controversies tied to his name. Even with this reputation though, the two would start exchanging messages. A year later, Nux would then start using very questionable artwork in his videos, some of it coming directly from Shatman. In one of those thumbnails, for example, he uses a piece of Shatman's collaborative comic with Belle Delphine, something many viewers instantly recognized and called out in the comments due to the artist's notorious reputation. But despite all of that backlash, Nux simply wouldn't respond. Instead, he'd be seen liking some of the comments that bring this up, and the image would stay up for quite a while, with nothing ever said or done. Later that same year, Nux would upload a reaction video to his second channel, one that would end up becoming one of his most viewed. It centered around a viral meme featuring Anka, a character from Animal Crossing, which blew up on TikTok after tons of people, including kids, started mimicking this dance. But what most people didn't realize at the time was that the original version of the meme was actually not safe for work. Nux even mentions how strange it is that kids are doing the dance now, but rather than say anything beyond that, he just brushed it off and starts talking about how good the music is. What makes it even worse is that the thumbnail he was using for this video was pulled directly from the explicit version of the dance. YouTube would inevitably step in and take the whole thing down for violating their rules about explicit content on their platform. But this wouldn't be the only thing Nux would be involved in. Around late 2021 and early 2022, Nux would again find himself caught in yet another controversy, this time involving a different VTuber named Bungo Taiga. It all started when Taiga was exposed for allegedly trying to obtain explicit photos from a year-old. And as soon as this information would surface, Nux would publicly shame him, even calling him a predator in front of his own audience. And this is where things get twisted. Taiga himself would respond to this by releasing a document he calls the exoneration document. In it, he doesn't just deny the allegations against him, but instead he also tries to turn the blame onto Nux himself. On his own stream, Taiga would claim that Nux's frequent use of content revolving around adult depictions of fictional younger people basically normalized this kind of content, making him think that this kind of behavior was okay in the first place.
Stop acting like it's the worst thing in the world. You do it. You do it. You do it. You get off to it. You use on your thumbnails to bait your viewers to come watch your streams. That's what people watch you for, you freak.
Now surprisingly, this response would get him a ton of attention, and people would begin to question themselves whether Nux's content is one of the causes for this. Faced with the growing backlash and hate, Nux would eventually take back his previous statement, while also publicly admitting that calling him a predator is the biggest mistake of his career.
This was probably the biggest L of my career. To be honest, Bongo Taiga even leaked the DMs on his stream about me apologizing to him and stuff.
In July 2024, however, his past actions would be dug up once more, this time during a separate controversy involving Ava Chris Tyson from the MrBeast crew. During that time, a series of expose posts called the Chat Files would start spreading online, aiming to expose creators who had previously interacted with Shatman, and among the list was obviously Nux Taku. Now after the release of these files, Nux would immediately respond publicly, speaking out against Shatman and trying to distance himself from him.
It's the Shadman stuff. Okay, so I knew it was Lolly stuff. Okay, so Shadman takes Lolly to another level. So Shadman is a not-ish, ish fellow, okay? Not actually been necessarily, as far as I know, accused of shit. I know that there have been criminal stuff that's going on here.
He would also claim that his messages with them were not only one-sided, but that he also had no idea about the full extent of Shatman's work. But just like before, most people simply weren't buying it.
I just scrolled back in my DMs from, how old is this? 1 second. 2020 with Shadman, because he sent me some wild shit.
In the days that followed, online creators like Kuiman and Larix would start digging through Nux's videos, ultimately finding out that he seems to contradict everything he just said. Nux would make a video talking about how he came into contact with Shatman in the first place. However, Kuiman would post a tweet right after with a screenshot of Nux wanting to collaborate with Shatman with the caption, "Why are you lying? You asked him to collab and got rejected in 2021. Wanna collab? No, but your heart's in the right place. Understandable, have a nice day. I'm here when you come around, devil emoji." Even with the evidence of Nux being the one who reached out to Shatman, it wouldn't take long before Nux would respond again. In the video he made replying to this, he would claim that the collaboration was just him grilling Shatman, which basically means he was planning to confront Shatman rather than trying to collab with him.
People are making this as some sort of, I am supporting him and I'm trying my best to become friends with Shadman, this monster. Which is fucking stupid if you know my content at all. I troll confront people when I collab the same way you do, talking to Keemstar, on LolCow, and if you watch my videos, you know that.
But Larix would question him about this in a tweet saying, "So you didn't know the extent of his then, but we're going to grill him at the same time. If you did get that collab, what would you grill Shad on? From what I remember, he was known as the guy who drew sex. You didn't know that?" And Nux would respond by tweeting, "I knew about the stuff and some of his art, like the beast with fictional etc. Definitely enough to grill the guy." This, however, simply doesn't make any sense, since Nux had been using Shatman's work in his own thumbnails, some of which were only taken down later. Now, at the lowest point of his career, with dozens of clips and posts exposing him, Nux would simply decide to stop responding, likely hoping it would all get buried. But the backlash would only grow, as creators like Harmful Opinions and Nikandros would start compiling footage of his obsessive content and obscene material involving fictional. Harmful and Nikandros would also end up releasing a video in August of 2024, exposing a significant amount of Nux's hypocrisy. Not only did they disprove the idea that Nux was ever truly criticizing Shatman, Harmful would also point to one of Nux's thumbnails, which showed a highly disturbing and inappropriate piece of artwork, including a dog and a woman. Another thumbnail was also brought up, with Harmful explaining that a reverse image search would lead to an explicit adult site, where the image itself would contain violent and graphic themes. This huge amount of information was actually obtained from the Reddit account of someone who used to keep tabs in Nux's subreddit, and although this account has long been banned, the posts that are made on Nux's subreddit are still up, and they document a massive amount of explicit materials that Nux used for his thumbnails. But what really catched people's attention is that within the Reddit posts that harmful shows, a white-haired anime girl is seen in the middle, and it was the avatar of a well-known VTuber by the name of Gargura. Keep in mind that this was the same girl that was in the image with the tag imminent. On top of that, it turns out that Nux had previously mentioned Gura in one of his past videos.
There's lollies, which I have absolutely nothing against. I don't think anyone has anything against lollies, okay? Like Chibidoki or Megumin from Konosuba or Gura.
This heavily implies that Nux was very well aware of the image's nature, especially since he previously described Gargura as a loli and had used similar imagery knowingly. And he would even go as far as saying this.
Nothing has anything against lollies. It's lolly that's the gray zone. This guy's pinned tweet that he retweeted is this. All right, look, it's lolly stuff. That's a line. All right, lolly stuff. That's the gray zone, not actual, but the gray zone.
Which simply isn't true, considering that in Canada, where he lives, this kind of stuff is basically just illegal. Now, Nux never faced any legal consequences for what happened, and he continues to upload videos to this day. But for many, his name is now tied to one of the most disturbing and controversial reputations on the platform. Unlike him though, this next individual took advantage of multiple people.
You held a stream in which I thought you would admit our relationship. Instead, you did quite the opposite, saying with a righteous and dignified attitude that you are single.
Kyouka, also known as the founder and leading talent of a VTuber agency called Over Idea, was a Japanese VTuber best known on the Bilibili platform, where he had over 1 million followers. He was already a major figure in the VTuber community, especially after landing collaborations with Nijisanji English, again one of the biggest agencies in the scene, including talents like Vox Akuma and Fulgur Ovid. At the time, his career simply wasn't showing any signs of slowing down. In 2023, however, all of that would come crashing down when someone going by the name of Bingtang released a 1-hour expose that would turn everything he built against him and reveal who he really was behind the camera. In early 2021, Kyouka and Bingtang, who's the Chinese VTuber, and someone Kyouka's romantically involved with, are gaining a ton of momentum in their careers as a funny and entertaining couple, and even off-stream they would grow closer by spending most of their nights on their phone talking for hours. Until during one of these sessions, Kyouka would suddenly say, "My balls are huge, do you want to see it?" And he would then proceed to send an unsolicited selfie of himself wearing nothing but underwear. Now, although Kyouka and Bingtang are a couple, sending something this uncalled for would still catch Bingtang very off guard. In East Asian relationship culture, especially in the early stages, these actions can still come across as inappropriate or uncomfortable, even between partners. So confused, Bingtang assumed that he's just doing this under the impression that foreigners are more enthusiastic and unrestrained, and just brushes it off. And their relationship would continue to develop, and so would their careers, with much of that growth coming from Bingtang actually, as she would help Kyouka connect with major Chinese streamers, finding artists for his live character model, and even letting him borrow a huge amount of money just for him to live stream and play gacha. However, it turns out that none of those favors, especially the money, were ever paid back. Despite the fact that he was more popular than ever, his career kept growing, and so did the amount of money he made, with more and more donations coming from his female fans actually. Now one night, Bingtang would actually tune into his stream and realize that Kyouka was actually using the same kind of suggestive conversations and behaviors they used to do over the phone to flirt with his female fans, and she would confront him about it, with Kyouka simply responding with, "If you're a public figure, you need to be more mature about this. You can't hinder my work just because you don't like it. My job is to be an idol, and an idol is to create a beautiful dream for the audience." And he would take this very seriously, because in November of 2021, Kyouka, now at the peak of his career, would announce that he's currently single, hoping to appeal to his female fans. While behind the scenes, he would still be in a relationship with Bingtang the entire time. But despite that, some of the fans were already starting to question whether he was telling the truth, because it just seemed so sudden. Annoyed, he would instead criticize a portion of his audience, calling out what he refers to as his girlfriend fans for being too sensitive, and claiming that they should just trust that he's not in a relationship. But every time, as soon as the stream would end, Kyouka would send a message to Bingtang, saying stuff like, "I love you, my wife." He would manipulate both sides, his fans as well as his actual girlfriend. And this kind of manipulation simply wouldn't stop. And over time, Bingtang would actually start blaming herself, saying she was the one causing all of this tension. Now, because of this drama, his popularity would gradually decline, and he would decide to take it out on the one person who helped him the entire time. He would start yelling at Bingtang, telling her that it's all her fault, but he would quickly go back to acting sweet and telling her nice things whenever he wanted to initiate inappropriate conversations over the phone. He would start calling her his wife again. This made Bingtang very confused and felt like something was seriously wrong. So she would turn to a friend going by the name of Pari, who would end up telling her something she didn't expect at all.
Kyouka's like this. He's someone who will sacrifice others for his own benefit.
And Bingtang would find out that Kyouka had actually been in a similar relationship with Pari before. It was all just a big game to him. Now the moment he realized that they actually talked with each other, he would immediately start lashing out again, telling her to never speak to Pari ever. But it's around this time that Kyouka's actions would finally start catching up to him. Some of the fans who used to support him were starting to pull away, especially the ones he once called his girlfriend fans. And a lot of it had to do with his personality behind the scenes, since the drama started to leak out. But this would simply make him treat Bingtang even worse than before. Whenever he would see VTubers who were more popular than him, he would get jealous and start saying inappropriate things behind their backs just to make him feel better. And at the same time, he would start messaging a bunch of female streamers in private. He would check if they're having a bad day, ask them if they want to talk, and slowly get closer to them over time. And just like that, a lot of them would start growing attached to him, texting with him constantly, getting on voice calls, and even sending photos and sharing personal information. But not long after, Bingtang would receive a message from Kyouka, where he admits that he's been saving screenshots of his private conversations with these girls the entire time, just to see how she would react, and getting a thrill whenever she showed any signs of jealousy. He tells her that he never actually cared about any of them, and that it was all just a way to mess with her emotions and keep her from leaving. Some of these messages he shared included personal details the girls had shared with him, like their home addresses, schools, workplaces, and private experiences, and even company secrets. And after collecting them, Bingtang would just simply watch as Kyouka would begin saying inappropriate and hateful things about the girls behind their backs. Now everything between Bingtang and Kyouka would start falling apart, but they were still talking regularly. Bingtang simply couldn't let go, and during those late night calls, he would start pressuring Bingtang to do suggestive things with him until morning. And eventually he would tell her that he had an obsession with something called NTR, which is a Japanese term that refers to a genre where a character's romantic partner is unfaithful or stolen by another person. And he would start saying disturbing things about how she's constantly surrounded and adored by male fans, and how he liked that. Now despite the backlash he was already facing, Kyouka would still go as far as hiring an exotic performance person, and after Bingtang actually found out, he would go into explicit detail about his time with the girl and the services he paid for. And this is the point where Bingtang would suddenly break. She would say that her stomach felt sick and she would break down completely. So throughout May of 2022, she would decide to cancel her streams. Now as time progressed, people started forgetting about what happened between the two, especially Kyouka. So his popularity from the girlfriend fans would suddenly start bouncing back up leading up to his birthday. And because of the drama he had, some of his most loyal fans would begin to go to the extremes and attack Bingtang and her family out of jealousy, sending malicious and even life-threatening messages. But despite Bingtang's situation, she would often cry and apologize to him, even when he was the one doing all of these twisted things to her. Now it's just a few hours before his birthday party, and Kyouka would actually invite Bingtang to his livestream party, and she would ask him if he wanted a birthday present. And Kyouka would respond to her by saying,
"Send me 100,000 Chinese yuan,"
which by the way is nearly $14,000. And Bingtang would simply agree and send the money through a super chat, a paid message that appears publicly on Kyouka's stream. But the thing is, as soon as the fans see this donation, some of them suddenly accuse her of trying to steal the spotlight, since it was his birthday stream after all. And the insults and messages she receives would only get worse. And so he would refund the money she sent him for some reason. But Bingtang decides to step up and simply says how horribly he treated her. But he just simply says,
"I paid you back the money. What are you still struggling with? Do you know how much I sacrificed to protect you?"
Meanwhile, the verbal attacks from Kyouka's fans escalate even further, and Bingtang's own fans, along with regular viewers, start realizing what's actually going on. At this point, Kyouka also changes his agent, and this is when his girlfriend fans, the ones who were willing to do anything for him, start turning on each other, arguing over whether Bingtang was really at fault. And on October 7th, 2022, Bingtang simply can't take it anymore and uploads a video on Bilibili detailing everything Kyouka had done. And while it's still unclear if he's done the same to others, she ends the video by saying,
"These 3 years of my early 20s, the best 3 years of my youth, were giving to a scumbag."
Now shortly after, Kyouka would host an apology stream on the same platform, with over 35,000 people watching the whole thing. But just after that, both Bingtang's expose and Kyouka's stream would get taken down, and soon after, both of their accounts would get suspended, likely due to the platform's strict policies. This next person, however, was taken advantage of at every single point.
My content is 18+ but wasn't fully reinforced the way I thought it was. I broke my own rules hard and didn't want it to be, but I did. I want to throw up and forget this.
It's January 2022. Mauzi Banharu is a young VTuber who's still legally a and she reaches out to another creator named Ja Waffle, better known online as Wolfie. Now Wolfie has built her presence streaming VR chat on Twitch, calling herself a Neko-made VTuber, with a personality that's as flashy as her character model, and content she openly says is made for adults. Despite this, Haru isn't looking for anything more than streaming advice and a new friend, and Wolfie actually responds to her by sending her a link to her Discord server. Now before letting her in though, she asks how old Haru is, and when Haru tells her she's Wolfie hesitates for a moment, saying her content is made for adults, but still the conversation keeps going and says,
"You're fine, just be careful. A lot of people in the VTuber community say that if you're a get the f out. I'm not picky, but I'm just helping you by giving you a warning too."
And Haru is allowed to join the server nonetheless. And things are surprisingly normal at first. The conversations mostly are about tips on how to get better at streaming, with Haru even offering to draw her some artwork just to show appreciation. It isn't until late March of 2022, just 2 months after they first meet, that Wolfie starts to show what kind of person she really is. In this conversation she asks,
"Well, this one is somewhat or a really odd question. Don't take it in a bad way. Haru butt drawings? Might have?"
Haru then tries to clarify what she meant, and Wolfie follows it up by saying,
"You have any drawings of your character's butt?"
And while it might seem harmless since it's just a fictional character, there's something important to keep in mind. Haru's VTuber model ages with her, so when Wolfie asks for that kind of drawing, she's essentially asking to see what a character looks like from behind, fully exposed. Not long after that, Haru casually asks what Wolfie's been drawing, and with zero hesitation, Wolfie responds,
"You sitting on my face? Blush emoji?"
And just a few days later, even after Haru clearly tells her that she's Wolfie continues sending inappropriate comments. She replies with,
"Ah, okay, I'm safe. Partly I thought you were more of a and you are to me since I'm 23. Yeah, I don't seem 23, don't I? I may seem very when I asked you about art of you on me. I know and seems f***ed up, but I mean no harm and don't take it in a bad way, if you get me."
On March 23rd, 2022, their conversations would start turning into something even more indecent.
Drooling emoji, hihi. "Let me guess, striped panty Haru. Yes, I love that stuff. I want it all over me."
And after that, she asked something even worse.
Odd question. Are you okay with ERP? If you don't want to do it, it's fine. Sorry, and nothing not safe for work. I mean just etchy, if that's what you're wondering.
With terms like ERP and etchy, it's clear that Wolfie isn't just trying to talk about art or streaming. She wants to roleplay something suggestive with Haru, and since Haru obviously can't fully grasp the situation she's in, she simply agrees. Shortly after that, Wolfie starts going into more detail about what kind of ERP she wants to do. She introduces a fixation where Haru is imagined as massive while she stays small, and this quickly becomes the focus of their chats. These kind of conversations would go on for about a month, and they keep getting more intense in the worst way possible. In early April of 2022, Wolfie then admits to doing inappropriate things to herself during these roleplays with Haru, someone 6 years younger than her. And just when it seems like things couldn't get worse, she also starts sending drawings of Haru's character with her behind fully exposed. And less than a week later, despite everything she's already done, Wolfie asks Haru for a picture of her butt. But what Haru doesn't realize is that she's not talking about her model, she means her real body. And Haru agrees. And right after that, Wolfie tries to act like it's harmless, saying,
"All I'm saying, be careful though. Not to me, but like in general. I'm not harmful. I'm straight honest and blunt when saying things. I don't mean them in a harmful way and won't lead to any more hardcore. Do you get what I mean? I just feel cautious about asking that since I had friends remove me before. That's why I'm scared asking. Sorry, rant."
And with how much Haru trusts her, she ends up sending multiple explicit photos of herself, with Wolfie responding in very inappropriate ways, flooding the messages with drooling emojis, for example. And months later, in late 2022, Wolfie would take things even further. On a live stream, she puts together a so-called tier list, and weirdly enough, she tries to get someone on the stream to ask Haru for a submission. Now it's never clear whether she's referring to Haru's character or her real body, but it's disturbing nonetheless. And someone who I'll introduce later would call her out for it, directly confronting her over how far she took things on stream. But instead of owning up up to it, Wolfie simply brushed it off, blaming alcohol and her meds for how she acted. Now despite everything Wolfie's already done to her, Haru would admit that she has feelings for her, and at the time she actually says this only because she's emotionally attached and just doesn't want Wolfie to leave. But Wolfie would actually decide to turn it down, saying,
"The thing is though, you're younger than me, so sadly we can't date, like legally, I can't date you. 23 minus 18 equals 5 years older than I am. And I looked it up and I believe 5 years isn't okay for dating. Basically dating a if you get me."
Now despite this seemingly good message, considering how long she's been flirting and role-playing with her, this makes absolutely no sense. She acts like she's been drawing the line the whole time, when she already crossed it months ago. Wolfie then tells Haru to wait until she turns 20 so they can actually date, as if that somehow makes any of it okay. Now after turning 19, Haru noticed that Wolfie barely talked to her anymore, and it made her feel like she didn't matter, like she'd just been tossed aside. And so years later, on January 12, 2023, after her friends tell her it was a mistake to stay with Wolfie in the first place, Haru finally listens and cuts all contact, saying that looking back, she feels disgusted by everything Wolfie did to her and to her character. And more than a year later, on August 4th, 2024, Haru finally releases a document exposing months of inappropriate behavior from Wolfie, not only toward herself, but several others. In her post, she wrote,
"When I was a VTuber by the name of Ja Waffle did things with me that were highly inappropriate and has done things to other people as well. This is our story, so please read it all the way through."
But the story with Waffle doesn't end there. Not long after Haru walked away, Wolfie set her sight on someone else, a person we'll call B. B first came across Wolfie during one of her streams, and this is how their first interaction began.
"Beginning was me donating $20 and her flirting with me. Then she begged for money and gave me special treatment in the stream. I helped solve her botting issues, like 12 times, and recommended solutions for all her issues. Got mod access while still being begged for money as I managed her TikTok. Then one day she got tired of me and replaced me for relationship matters, but not financial ones. So she still came for me asking for money every week until she realized it was hopeless."
Even after B says their relationship had already ended, Wolfie was still asking for favors.
"Hey, can you send the collar? Just wondering. Sure, once I'm out of the hospital, I'll probably get the diamonds taken off, but a gold collar should be good enough. Oh, the diamonds were almost 3K, hun, and considering I don't really understand what our relationship is, I'd like to repurpose them. I was hoping they'd be on there, but if it make you comfy, to then fine. I'm just stressed as f and struggling. I don't know, sorry. Well, I'd be fine with it if we were dating, or even if the puff art got finished, but you kinda cancelled everything you were getting done for me, so I'm still not even sure I should give it to you at all. I'll tell Puff to finish it."
It turns out though that Haru and B weren't the first. One of the earlier victims was another we'll call A, someone who actually met Wolfie back in 2021, long before Haru ever came into the picture. It's not exactly clear how the two of them met, but at the time, A was only while Wolfie was already in her early 20s and had made it clear that her content was for mature audiences. And yet Wolfie started urging A to open up about her personal life. A, still young and not fully aware of what's appropriate to share, ends up telling her things that should have stayed private, and that actually led to Wolfie bringing up A's personal life in front of everyone during one of her Minecraft streams, going as far as revealing that A's parents had passed away. A would confront her about this more than once, telling her to stop, but Wolfie simply wouldn't listen. And things get even weirder when Wolfie would start complimenting A's voice, saying how hot it was. And what would start as casual praise would slowly turn into something more disturbing, with Wolfie even making inappropriate art about her. And that's exactly when A would start pulling away. And she was actually the one warning Haru about Wolfie when they first started talking. And unfortunately, this isn't the point where it ends either. A VTuber who goes by the name R would also end up getting dragged into Wolfie's mess in early 2023. It turns out that Wolfie had been spreading false rumors about him, claiming he was manipulating people into joining his so-called harem, which she described as a group of women all romantically interested in him. And when R found out about that, he would immediately confront her, telling her that it's not true and that the rumors really upset him. But instead of clearing it up, Wolfie would simply double down. She would deny saying anything harmful and try to justify it by saying,
"I just warn people that I don't know if you will get closer to them to join your polygamy from what I've heard."
But R would call her out directly, repeating what she said word for word. And she would respond with,
"This is making me pissed and I will block you because this is honestly making me shake and uncomfy. You are overthinking and This is the internet. Stuff like this will happen."
Wolfie would also start making offensive jokes about people with physical disabilities. In particular, she would mock people in wheelchairs by using inappropriate words during her livestream skits. But after R confronted her about it, she would simply say,
"I see no hate to it, and it's no harm to anyone or such to it. People who do take it as a slur from the video can just fuck off."
Then she tries to get out of the situation again by saying stating that she's had a couple of rough days and just needs sleep. But this isn't still the worst thing she's done. On April 11th, 2023, Wolfie is caught saying things that are deeply disturbing during a Discord conversation with an unknown user. They start talking about fictional characters that look like underage girls, and during the chat she says,
"In general, lowly stuff is just child but not real. But everything is bad in any country. So I mean, if it isn't real life, then I'm fine because it's cute and hot, if you get me."
After that, she goes even further, sending several messages openly fantasizing about fictional young girls, and even showing off part of her collection of those kinds of images. Then, about a year later, just after Haru released her document, a former moderator of Wolfie's stream would come forward with a statement of their own.
Ex-mod for Wolfie here. I had zero idea they even did this stuff, and I'm still in shock from the whole thing. Please, if you decide to tune into Wolfie's stream, keep in mind that this person has hurt a lot of people. The type of stuff they used to do is downright disgusting. Their Discord is specifically 18+, but they also allow That was one of the many things that gave me a feeling that something was up.
They go on to say that the users on the Discord server had been posting explicit artwork of Ellen Jo, a clearly underage character from Zenless Zone 0. And instead of removing these posts, Wolfie actively allowed it. And according to them, there were a number of things that just didn't sit right, whether it was on her server or on Twitch. She rarely enforced the age restriction, and while there was technically an ID protection system in place for NSFW channels, it was quite easy to bypass. And to anyone who ever saw a minor interacting with her, they leave one final warning.
Please warn them, keep them safe. Take a look at Haru's document in the quote retweet for further context.
Now, after this whole thing blew up, Wolfie would finally decide to respond, posting a statement of her own.
I would like to address a recent tweet regarding my past actions. I acknowledge that much of what was stated is true. In 2022, when I was 23, I exhibited immaturity and did not fully understand the implications of my actions, which in retrospect were both illegal and inappropriate. Looking back at the direct messages I sent to Haru, I realized that my communication at the time was inappropriate. I recognize the impact of my actions, and I'm committed to personal change for the better from the actions I did to them. I do not wish to use this as my excuse or a crutch. I am autistic. I have Asperger's syndrome, and yes, I am higher functioning, but I've faced challenges in understanding social norms, and during that period of me talking to Haru, I did not know it was okay. I am deeply remorseful for the harm I caused, and I want to empathize that I am actively working on bettering myself.
And the statement continues.
While I do not expect anyone to accept my apology, I want my efforts to change to be acknowledged. These are mistakes I will learn from, and I'm seeking help to ensure I evolve into a better person. As I take time away from streaming to focus on my healing, I hope to return with a renewed sense of purpose. This experience has left a lasting impact on me. I'm committed to growing from it. Thank you for your understanding, and I appreciate your patience during this process.
Then, on the afternoon of August 7th, 2024, Wolfie would return with another tweet. She writes,
"My better response,"
and links to a second apology document, posted just 2 days after the first one had been deleted. Compared to the original, this one is even shorter, just a single page, and most of it reads more like a stream of emotion than a proper response to what she's been accused of. In it, she writes,
"I am a disappointment to everyone I trusted. I broke my own rules hard. I didn't want it to be, but I did. I want to throw up and forget this. Some people can change. It takes time, so please give me that. Finally, I want to say again, I am sorry, Haru, and everyone I hurt."
Now, all of her social and online activity would completely disappear. And considering that many people have been given awareness about her, it's clear that her name won't be coming back ever again, or at least won't in the near future. What comes next, however, is someone who took on many names and has been repeatedly exposed for predatory behavior within the VTuber community.
If I remember correctly, like over 100 videos or pics of girls doing things. That's not true. I've only had that done with like a few girls.
In 2016, Jose Rodriguez, a 23-year-old man from Brooklyn, was arrested after being caught soliciting explicit acts from a 13-year-old we'll call Sophie on a game called Minecraft. It turned out he'd been talking to them for a while, and after getting Sophie's Skype account, he enticed the girl to perform inappropriate acts for him over the app, which included pictures and video calls. Sometime later, Sophie's father looked through her tablet and, to his horrible shock, found disgusting interactions between the two and immediately reported it to the local sheriff's office and the New York Police Department. Investigators eventually received the go signal to arrest Josel after tracking his location to Brooklyn, but once they raided his house, they found over 100 videos and images of suspected illegal content involving Soon after his arrest, Josel was held on a cash bail of over $30,000 at Rikers Island in New York and was sentenced to 10 years of probation. At first, this story seems like a closed case. However, 2 years later, in June 2017, I Milky, a transgender Minecraft content creator who's formerly known as Vidal Rose and Pumpkinite, would join a multiplayer series called The 100 Baby SMP, where creators would roleplay building virtual families and raising 100 kids in-game. This series would include well-known figures at the time, such as Moondustbry and PandaFire11, which helped drive a ton of engagement to her channel. With Milky's channel rapidly growing, she would start getting a lot of online friends, with two of the most relevant for later being Smarty's Cringe and Ruxanate Tux. And soon enough, they would start gather a presence in the 100 Baby SMP community and would rack in a lot of viewers. However, behind the cameras and away from the public eye, Milky wasn't the friendly Minecraft content creator people knew her as. She was actively messaging people who were not of age and repeatedly asking them to send selfies. In one conversation, for example, Milky, whose username is deleted user in this case, says,
I mean, I just wanna see a pic lol, if you don't mind of course. I hate selfies XD, the moment I take one I'm like, so take it, send it, then delete it. Simple lol.
Alongside this, Whimsy Kitsune, the person who organized that SMP that Milky was a part of, would find it highly suspicious when it comes to how old she actually was, as she only put her age as 18+ on the community's public information and never how old she specifically was. Now after this information and especially the screenshot spread among the content creators, Smarty posted a warning tweet shortly after Milky blocked her, and more details were revealed. She also confirmed the allegations that Milky was in fact kind of a pervert, which led to Milky deactivating all of her online accounts following the exposure about her. She supposedly left the internet entirely. While many thought this was the end of Milky, especially with all of her online activity gone, they were terribly mistaken. In late 2018, Rux makes a video exposing a lot more information about Milky, after finding out that another account, going by the name of Tired Ellie, had been acting almost exactly the same. One person who interacted with them says,
I've been trying to become friends with Ellie, and she's been asking me to show my face twice, acting really weird, and I was wondering if that was normal for her to act like this.
The screenshot shows,
You should take a selfie. No, I'm not in a mood, but I want to see you in a call. Sorry, maybe another time, because I'll have my computer again soon. I guess we can call with just voice then. Can you still take selfies though?
Another user called Tatum also shares the experience with Ellie, saying,
She asked me to undress in a call once, which I also said no to. Just asked for pictures of my face, a ton, and for other than that, nothing else really.
And when others would inevitably confront her about these actions, Ellie would respond with,
Congratulations, I see that. So what? It's the face. It's not gonna kill anyone. And I stopped already, so either drop it or leave me alone.
Sometime after that, Smarties also posts a second warning tweet, this time with more details about Milky.
Back in late November/early December, I posted a warning about someone who went by the name of I Milky. She has hurt a great deal of the community, and it came to a point where we even had to get the authorities involved and call the police. After I posted my original warning involving her, she got a great deal of backlash, which is reasonable considering how many people she's affected and what she's done. It drove her out of the community, and she backed away for a while, until she recently returned under the name Tired Ellie.
Smarty continues by saying that Milky, or Ellie, has asked countless individuals for revealing pictures, as well as pressing them to do inappropriate things. This includes asking for private images, flashing her, making suggestive requests, and more. She also says that Milky has given out several ages, ranging from all the way to 25, which makes her come across as a predator, especially considering how often she targets people closer to age when asking them to do these disgusting things. Not only this, but Milky also supposedly forced people into situations where she threatened to harm herself if they wouldn't agree to date her. And whenever Milky would get called out, she would just deny all of it, saying there's no real proof behind any of these accusations against her. But even after all of that denial and all the excuses, her newest alias, Tired Ellie, would also eventually be chased off the internet. However, in August of 2018, a VR chat mute Twitch streamer by the name of Kurinoko would suddenly show up, and not long after, many of the people would find out that this person was actually also Milky. And not only that, but they also began digging up Milky's real identity and discovered in horror that she was reportedly the exact same person as Josel Rodriguez, who was the convicted predator mentioned in the beginning. And this blows up on the internet, and Milky tries to deny and clear all of the facts, but another DM immediately gets gets leaked after, showing that she still has plans to return to her Milky persona. And although Milky, or Kurinoko, would vanish from the internet once again, many others would still continue to track her movements, which consisted of a lot of other alt accounts that suddenly popped up. At this point, many people assumed that this would be the end of Milky's career on the internet, despite how many accounts they would create. But again, around 2019 to 2020, she would still somehow manage to rise from all of this. To get to the bottom of how this became possible, Rux, the person who originally exposed Milky, actually changed their name to Lumi Starbun, and shockingly had various controversies including doxing, transphobia, and even faking their own death. And despite all of this, in late 2019, Lumi would make an art piece dedicated to I Milky with a caption saying, "I may have messed up my life yesterday, but I'm glad to have my best friend back. Thank you for the support at I Milky. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me, and I'm sorry for hurting you. I swear I will do better." This post alone would quickly alert countless people to Milky's sudden reappearance, who would come back to Twitter and YouTube with a VR chat focused channel with over 600 subscribers. And as soon as the people started actually noticing that she came back, they all also came across a video of Milky online, responding and apologizing for the things she's done. In this video, however, she doesn't admit to anything she's actually done. Milky first states that she suspects the authorities had lied when they claimed that she was caught with over 100 suspected images and videos of highly obscene materials of, and according to her, she only had a few files of those instead. Milky also adds by noting that the police had never showed her the illegal materials on a computer, and although some may argue that this isn't part of the police procedure, this is what she says.
When the cops came and got me, they were like, "Oh, we're confiscating your computer," and we found a whole bunch of stuff. They never actually showed me anything. They didn't show me any pictures, they didn't show me any videos, like they didn't show me anything.
She then claims that she's changed, even while continuing to ask for selfies, explicit photos, and inappropriate roleplay. Afterwards, she also expresses depression and anxiety, seemingly to gain sympathy. There's also an attempt to justify her actions, saying she doesn't have control of something in her that's causing all of this.
Because it was something that happened. At the time I had no control over. Some of you may think I'm stupid for saying that, but I'm being 100% honest here. There was something in me at that time that I just couldn't control. And it's some whole other thing. I know people won't believe me, so I won't bother going into it.
She then talks about deserving not just a second, but a third and fourth and even a fifth chance.
Everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves another chance. Some people, they mess up a few times. I'm one of those people, but no one's perfect.
In the summer of 2020, Milky would return to her Twitter with a flood of tweets. She admits to the horrible things she did and asks for another chance, reminding everyone that she's human too. But just as quickly as she came back, Milky's activity would again completely stop. And it definitely wasn't for a good reason. In late 2020, Rux would drop a bombshell of an expose again, revealing that Milky had allegedly done it again and again, and this time using a new account. This is I Milky, a known who's been arrested for having 100+ images of child. I was friends with them, but it looks like they're still continuing, so I ended it. And they got mad when I found them again. Rux also raised awareness by showing Voidine's Discord name, who they claim is actually Milky. Under her name of Voidine, Milky now uses a mute AI character who streams in VR. I Milky's channel has now been deleted, and her online presence was never seen again, at least not under I Milky, with her probation ending in 2026. And again, definitely check out Freecash with this QR code or the link in the description. There's really no reason to not try it out since it's literally free.